Yeah, I'm
Okay.
new to all this,
Now
so
I'm. That's what it was. It was the dashes.
okay. If I ask stupid questions, please forgive me. I'm just new to all
Oh,
this.
no problem. I'm learning too. Um, Now look at your live page. You should see that you're streaming live right now.
That's creepy because my lips were moving and I wasn't talking.
Oh, probably because there's a delay um, on. Oh, shoot. I don't know if I'm recording your audio.
You should be.
Yeah, like I didn't think about that. Um, since I'm feeding to your stream, but I'm getting a delay for you, and then my my audio for you isn't your actual mic. It's my desktop audio. Hmm.
Holy.
Let me try adding an audio source.
Being that I'm live, I got to be careful what I'm doing, like visually right now.
Right now, yeah, yeah. I would just use
This
this
is
as
cool
learning.
though. Like this is cool now that I know how to do this.
Audio input capture. Let's try.
And you made me go live when I look like a potato.
No, I can't. Hmm. Now, are you hearing any volume from your YouTube?
No, I'm just hearing you.
Okay, let me pull up your YouTube.
Oh wait, hold on. I'm here. Okay, I had my shit muted.
Okay. Oh, okay, okay. Um,
I'm here.
Now, are you watching on your live channel? Like, are you watching yourself live?
Yes.
Okay, now is your audio matching your voice when you're talking?
I'm confused because I had to mute my audio again just so I could hear what you were saying as opposed to.
Yeah, well, normally you would keep your replay audio muted and you won't hear yourself when you're watching. Um, I just asked you to put it on so that we could see if the audio that's coming through the stream is matching your lips.
Oh, I don't think it is because I can see that it's delayed.
Can you try turning the audio on, saying a few test lines, and seeing if it matches while it's being played?
Hold on.
Okay, because there's going to be a delay between what you say as it feeds to me and then as it feeds back to you. So there's going to be like a second or two between what you do and what you see on screen.
Yeah, because I just scratched my face, so I want to see when that happens. Right. Okay, that just happened right there. So it's like maybe a 5 to 8 second delay.
Okay.
So let me unmute my audio and see what I'm hearing as opposed to when I'm saying it. Testing audio delay. Delay.
Now, what you'll need to do is say a few lines, but watch the replay to make sure that the audio is matching your lips. Like it should, but just like say a few things, watch what's playing on your live stream, and make sure that it's not lagging behind or going forward.
So basically, what you want, or basically what I'm looking for, is for the audio and my lips to match up, but I don't have to hear it instantaneously, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay, hold on. Let me unmute my audio again. Testing audio, picture. It's got a slight delay, but I mean, it's nothing drastic.
Yeah, I think that's just inherent with the video chat that we're doing anyways, because to me you have a little bit of delay.
Well, because here's the thing, I'm getting something on above my video feed that says bad video settings. Please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less.
Okay, let me stop streaming and change those settings and try again.
Okay.
Okay, how's that?
It says stream resumed, and I see myself again.
So no warning about the keyframe interval?
Oh, and the audio matches my lips.
Okay, so that is good.
Yeah, I'm not getting any warning about the stream rate or whatever it was called.
Okay. Now I don't know if we're actually live uh, or not, because I don't know if you have to
Well, no,
do any settings.
It does say live up in the top left hand corner.
Okay, like I just didn't know if you have to actually push it live from your YouTube creator whatnots. Like I haven't messed with it before.
There's no. Yeah, there's no button for me to go live. I think you controlling it, I think that did it.
Okay. Now you'll have to use the live stream uh, screen that you have to kind of frame yourself to see what's going live. So like that's your screen that's your monitor basically showing you like where your head is in relation to everything else, like my puppet.
Okay.
So if that'll let you see if like if you get closer or further away from the camera, like how big or small your head is, and if it's too far left, too far right, that kind of thing.
As far as I can tell, we're both in the frame quite well. The video feed is a little bit delayed, but the audio seems to be matching my lips.
Yeah, the video is going to take a few seconds for it to go through all the transcoding, go from you, go to me, go through OBS, go back to YouTube. So it's going to take a few seconds to do that route. So that's why what you're doing and saying in the moment takes a second or two to actually show live. So you don't kind of judge yourself based on uh, you try not to keep this headspace of like what's going on in real time versus what's going on your live channel, because then you're separating yourself into two time spaces, you know, so it'll mess with you. Just keep yourself concerned with what's happening live in the moment, and just know that in a couple seconds is when people see it. It's like your video delay.
Okay.
It's a little trippy at first when you're not used to it.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that my streaming abilities, because of my bandwidth over here, is kind of.
Well, no, see, you're actually not streaming. You're just doing the video chat to me, and I'm the one doing the streaming to your channel.
Oh, okay. So if I was streaming directly, it might be a little bit cleaner of a transition.
It would be a tiny bit faster, yeah, because it's not bouncing through multiple places. Um, but I don't think it would really affect it too much. The thing that's your bandwidth, I think it's only affecting things in the manner that you're video chatting to me. Because basically, it's as if I were live streaming right now.
Okay.
So it's like say this was my channel and I was live streaming, it would be the same way. because your data is just coming to me, and then I'm pushing out to YouTube.
Okay, and it says one person watching. Is that you or me?
That if you're on your live page, I don't think that counts as a person. So it could be somebody, but if you watch the chat panel to the side, they may say something, and you may be able to interact with them.
Well, I think I can type in my own room. Hold on.
I mean, this is all a big experiment.
I'm gonna announce on Twitter that I'm live streaming and see if I can get anybody in here.
Okay.
See, but if I go out of my live, I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna be able to catch my.
Oh no, just open a different tab. Don't close this tab.
All right, hold on. Because I want to get my channel link. Because I'm going to get my channel link and then tell people I'm live streaming. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
So I'm getting my channel link right here. Copy that. X that out. Make sure that I'm still. Okay.
Dead air, dead air.
Sorry, I'm still here. You can't hear me typing?
No, no. It's just we're live right now, so people are watching you go onto your. They can't see what you're doing on your laptop, but they see your face as you're going on Twitter. And now they know my ringtone.
Yeah, that needs to be, now that we're live, that definitely needs to be silenced.
I thought I did. This is like the third time I'm silencing it. I'm put it on Do Not Disturb.
All right, let's see if that works. This is wild. Like, I did not know I could do this. Like, my hat's pissing me off. I just blasted it out on Twitter that I was on live stream.
Let's see. I could go on my phone to YouTube and test it out. I mean,
Yeah, you know what you should
my
do?
puppet phone.
You should get all of your devices that have YouTube on them and log in with all your different accounts and then watch the stream through all of the different accounts.
Yeah.
I'm a horrible person. I'll get those 4,000 hours. I'll beat you at your own game, YouTube.
Yeah, it shows you as being live.
Okay, that's cool.
Let's see. I'm trying to go to it. Yeah, it shows it.
Okay, what see what my audio sounds like as opposed to what you're hearing with us video chatting. Okay, I like that. Oh, hello. That just confused.
Yeah, okay, so I just mentioned something in the chat. I don't know who
I
the
see it.
second person is in the room.
It's weird because it still only says one person, but now you're in the room.
It shows two for me, so it's probably counting you and me as the two people.
Okay. Yeah, it's still telling me over here just one person.
Okay, let's see. Let me go back to your channel. Now, I don't know if you have your settings to automatically post this after being live, or if it's just recorded and not. That's something you'll have to look into as we do this more. Is
Yeah.
it can go live, and then after you're done, process it and not upload because it's already on their servers, but um, push it out
Yeah.
as content
Yeah.
also.
Now I'm seeing that there's two people in the chat. So I'm trying to figure out if that's you and me or
Yeah, it's me and you. I don't think it's anybody else is in here yet.
is
It
that
does it does show me that your face is off screen a little bit.
it
Yeah,
is?
that's the direction that you want to go.
Yeah, it was off screen, sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, you'll just have to be mindful of that. All right, so I guess we could just talk about the stuff you wanted to talk about because I have until about 4 or 5, and then I'm going to a haunted house.
Oh, cool. Um yeah, we start a conversation and people come in mid conversation, they're gonna wonder what the hell's going on. Um but see, and this is weird because now that we're live, I don't know how to transition into this.
Ha.
'Cause I don't know how weird it's gonna sound um to different people. But basically what I'm like what I had sent to you in chat or in Facebook chat was the whole thing about this seeming trend of uh, outrage culture, like people getting offended or angry over the dumbest things.
So,
And I didn't know if you had any, thoughts on that or based on, examples that you've seen.
sorry, could you repeat that? I was totally spaced. There's some issues with the software. Sorry.
Um, basically, the thing that has caught my eye lately was this whole outrage culture of people being offended or angry at seemingly everything and nothing all at the same time. And it blows my mind the level of anger inside people and the way that they project that anger and kind of pass it off, like blame other people for it.
Hmm. Well, I mean, what's the question in that though? Like, I hear the observation, but what's the question?
I guess I mean, I'm curious as to, what your thoughts on, that topic are. Like, if you know of any specific examples you've seen of where you're just looking at people going, that's really nothing to get, mad about, or, you know, getting or people blaming other people because they're mad.
Um, I guess my view on it would be that a lot of it is marketing and um, I mean, the way you get build interest in your side is having an opponent. So it's more interesting for a subject if it's like a battle than it is just, oh, here's an idea. So like that's why things aren't boiled down to like I have my thoughts on how to do something, you have your thoughts on how to do something, and yay, we'll just figure out who's better. It's that's boring, and the when it's a fight, it you feel more invested as just the average person, and it gives you the opportunity to win. So I think a lot of it is people being manipulated, and I mean it's inherently it's in us to want to do this. So it's not. I don't think it's bad that people do it. I think it's that we're being drawn into doing it and not realizing it though, because I think I mean even look at like sports back when it was like East Coast, West Coast basketball, Bird and whoever was on the Lakers at the time. Like I'm not a big,
Um,
I don't know sports ball so much, but
yeah, it was Bird and Magic Johnson.
yeah, before then it was kind of like not a lot of interest. I mean, the games were still the games. They were still exciting, but people weren't that interested in it. But when it became a rivalry and towns got behind their towns and like half the nation versus the other half the nation, one style of play versus another style of play, then people got like really like virally into it, you know, like I think companies, corporations, anyone in PR, they know that people want that. So everything now is geared to be like, if we have an opponent, we can get more people interested in our side. And so it's just both sides use it. It's back and forth, and people allow themselves to fall into that. And as once you open your eyes and realize like I'm being manipulated, um, do I really feel this way because I want to feel this way, or do I feel this way because I'm being goaded? I think people just need to have more critical thinking.
Um, do you think that outrage culture has been exacerbated since the creation of social media? Like, do you think people feel more kind of energized to lash out at other people because they don't have to be face to face with them, or they don't have to put up with the emotions of the other person that they're directing their anger to?
I think it's made it easier. I don't think it's created the problem or the issue. I think it's always existed. I just think it's brought it to light more and made it very simple to do. Um, it wasn't like in everyday life uh, you were able to do this before. But I mean, I used to troll people playing WoW, you know, just like get my kicks off of just being a jerk in chat. It's like Baron's chat, you know, it's like, come on, you're just being a goof. But I think people uh, have taken it to another level where it's gone from just being funny to actually can cause harm. And some people don't realize like what they're saying and doing is actually harming people.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a lot of it is, well, I think it's twofold. Like, there's those people that are just being funny and they don't think it's actually doing any harm and just don't realize it. And then there's those people that just don't give a shit.
Um, like with what we were talking about off camera, um, regarding the events of like the last week with um, the things that were being mailed, and then the violence that just took place. Do you think that social media plays a larger role in basically creating this false anger, or do you think that it basically would have happened because of things that are being reported in the news?
Well, if I'm, see, if I'm understanding the question, you're getting at, is social media, let's see, is access to this media causing more than it would if we didn't have this media?
Right. Like if we didn't have such ease of access to it. Like before, when you and I were growing up, we had the newspapers, the TV, and the tabloids, but the news was only broadcast at certain points throughout the day. Whereas now with social media and the internet, we have news at our fingertips whenever we want it. So, do you
Yeah.
think that that creates a more constant outrage culture than if we had to wait for news to come on?
Well, I think the main difference is without access to these different outlets, like instantaneously, like you said, back when we were kids, it was information was slower to come to you, so you had more time to have it filter through different people and different things before it even got to you, and you had time to form your own opinions about stuff. But now you're hit from all sides all day long, constantly with all these opinions, and I think it's more before you had access to all this. Oh, these people influence you constantly. You're being influenced. You're absorbing this stuff 24/7. So a lot of it you just kind of accept and don't filter through thinking. You just absorb it. When back before it came at such a slow pace that you received the information, but you weren't being hit with like that information, more information behind it, like corroborating it, and then more information from the opposing side, like going against it, so you don't know what to think. So you just stick with I just want to say like within party lines kind of thing. Um, you have more time to think for yourself before, and when now you're just hit with so much information, I think people just don't bother thinking. They just want to accept. And so if someone says be angry, they're angry.
And that's another thing. Do you think that um, so many opinions being thrust out into the public because of the internet, do you think that that kind of stunts people's ability or desire to think for themselves?
I think it makes it easier to not need to, and just knowing myself, like, if you can get lazy and just accept whatever comes your way. Um, it's not necessary to have to, so why bother, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it's weird to me that, and I don't know if I told you, sometime early or mid year, I did the ancestry DNA just to find out where some of my lineage comes from,
Hmm.
and knowing that I have Irish and Scottish in me, it makes me wonder why I'm not more susceptible to angry outbursts, and
But
I'm more laid back.
do you think that angry outburst is like a genetic condition, though?
Have you met anybody from Ireland or Scotland? I mean, come on here. I mean, I love my Irish and Scottish people, but even they will admit that, they are prone to, anger,
I could see that being
especially when
cultural,
drinking.
though. I could see that being a cultural thing where it's more accepted to be angry and have a quick temper and then get over it faster in a certain area. So most of the people there are like that, you know? And not like if you took an Irish baby, raised him on Mars with a bunch of aliens, is he automatically going to be angry because he's an Irish baby? I think that's more nurture than nature.
I agree with that. I have found that there are things that spark my, I don't want to say anger, but they get me riled up easier than other things. But it makes me wonder why I'm not more angry than I am with certain things, because, you know, like you said, it's more, nurture than nature. But being the people that I used to surround myself with, even when they were easily angered, I would just look at them and be like, why? Like, what purpose is it going to help for you to be that angry about something that's not going to matter in 5 minutes?
Yeah, and that's why I think it's based on the individual and how they are personally. Like some people can be quick to anger, some people can be slow to anger. Some people are quick to love, others are guarded. You know, it's not. Uh, I don't think it's a like, oh, my dad uh, loved to get tickled, so I love to get tickled because it's in my genes. You know.
Oh, that's funny. Like, just that example is kind of amusing. um, yeah, I mean, I have to wonder sometimes how many traits a person has are genetically passed down. Like when it comes to their character traits, how many are passed down genetically and how many are just learned because of the environment they're in. Um, I was listening to something the other day, and actually, now that I say that I remember where it's from, I don't know if it's going to affect my live stream and the fact that it's up, or if it's going to be taken down. But when Shane Dawson did the the docu series on Jake Paul, they were wondering if being a sociopath is something that you're born, like a trait that you're born with, or if it's learned. Um, and they said that it's more. I think it's more. I think they said it's more the fact that if you're a psychopath, you're born with that more than a sociopath, because I think that being a sociopath is more learned than inherited.
Yeah, I'm not a psychiatrist or a, you know, neurologist or whatever, the person that studies that kind of stuff. But I think if like if they can find physical ties between acting this way and the way the brain handles information, then it would be a genetic thing. But if it's just I learned to be a douche, so I'm a douche, then that's my environment caused it.
Yeah. They've actually said that sociopaths know that they are, but don't care. Like they
Mhm.
don't care enough. Um,
I mean, it could also be a spectrum of like what level of empathy you have.
yeah, and actually, when Shane ended up in or reaching out to Logan Paul, Logan, although he didn't want to be interviewed, said that he believes that he is a sociopath, but he also made the argument that there's a spectrum where he knows that there are people that are maybe worse sociopaths than him, but he doesn't deny the fact that he is one. Most of the people that talked about Jake directly, though, said that he's not one.
Okay, I mean, I don't watch these channels, so I don't know these personalities. But I would guess that if you're younger and you're thrust into like a celebrity kind of status, and you're given a lot of money and have almost no consequences in your life, you don't learn that there are consequences.
Right. And I completely agree with that. And that actually brings me to these YouTubers that they reach this level of notoriety and recognition where they end up having to have a group of people around them. Why why do you think so many people, like say in an entourage is what you and I would have called it growing up,
Mhm.
why do you think so many people in an entourage are what they call yes people instead of no people in in regard to not really guiding that social media influencer in the right direction, as opposed to, oh, they want to do this, I'm not going to tell them no.
Well, I think there's many factors in like why you would do that. Like one could be you want to be a part of the crowd, so you don't want to be against it or you'll be shunned. Uh, Another could be like you want to leech on and possibly ride that train for yourself in some manner, so you'll agree with anything just to get ahead. Um, some people could idolize you and just think that whatever you do is correct. Um, I mean, it could be any number of things why people don't want to disagree. I mean, fear of looking foolish. Um, not The easy answer would be to some people are strong enough to say no, and others are sheep. But I think that's oversimplifying it. I mean, there could be strong people that really have core values, but for some reason go along with these things, and you just don't know why.
Yeah, and actually, along the lines of core values, it makes me wonder if people in the entertainment world, whether it be YouTube or what I guess is now considered the mainstream entertainment world, it makes me wonder if their morals and values are strong enough for them to live by, or do they just say they have morals and values to get by in life, like to, kind of make people think they do.
I personally think that you don't know what your morals and values are until something comes up against them to make you choose if you go one path or another.
It's always, I guess since high school, it's always made me wonder the people that I've talked to that say they have morals and values, but then they do or say something that, directly contradicts those morals and values. It makes me wonder if they're saying that they have those morals and values just for the sake of appearances, or if they have those morals and values, but they're just not strong enough to have an influence on the person.
I mean, like say somebody says, I want to be good in this manner, and yet they're given a choice and they don't follow through in that. They could still want to be, but it's just a tough decision for them for some reason. Um, but then there's also the ones that could say, I want to be this way just so I look good to people, but secretly I don't give a crap, you
Yeah.
know?
And those strike me as people who are more prone to be sociopaths that don't have empathy. Um, because if they want to fit in, like they're chameleons, they can fit into any situation, but they're not mentally or emotionally invested in that situation enough to, truly be the characteristics that they're portraying. They're just portraying them for that time until they move on, is basically what I'm getting.
Yeah, and I mean, that's probably like inherent in all people where it's a survival trait. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
could see that keeps you going and keeps, like, say this is caveman days, it would keep you alive.
Yeah, I mean that whole concept, and this is another thing that I think this concept is very very widely kind of ignored now. Is I think our generation learned it in science class. Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, like Darwinism.
Yeah. But people reject survival of the fittest now, saying that everybody deserves the chance to be equal, when what they actually are looking for is not equality but equity in, what people are capable of doing and how well they're capable of doing it. Whereas they have this illustration that I saw the other day, equality versus equity, where equality is a tall, medium, and short person being given the same size crate to stand on, so that they are all standing on the crate, so they're equal in how high they are off the ground. But when it switches to equity, it then shows the medium and small person being given bigger crates so that they can see over the fence that the tall person is able to see over. So it's equality versus equity. And I think that a lot of people today are not familiar enough with the difference between the two, because I've never heard anybody talk about equity. They always talk about equality.
Well, I think that's because in most people's minds, uh, they hear the term equality and they think that means we're all able to do the same thing. So in their head, everybody seeing over the fence is equality because we're equally seeing over the fence. They're just confusing the terms.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, I think there is a very blatant bastardization of the English language, and I don't think people care enough to learn the reality of it. I think people would just rather continue, bastardizing it instead of actually learning the right phrasing to use and knowing that if they use the right phrasing, it would get them farther in their, individual quest of what they're trying to accomplish.
I agree to a point, but I also think that you could get stuck on technicalities too much. Like as long as their point is like, say they meant equity when they say equality, but you understand that that's what they meant, then is it on you to be like, hey, I'm a stickler for semantics and you have to tell me the correct words or I'm not going to agree? Or know that that's what they're meaning and just get beyond it?
Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't be a stickler for semantics in that respect. Knowing, like, it would depend on the context in which they're using it. If I knew clearly that they meant equity over equality, but they're saying equality, I would I would ask them, like, say they wanted to be paid the same amount of money, but they're not capable of doing the work necessary to be paid that amount of money. I would understand that they want equity over equality, but I would follow that up with asking them, what are they capable of doing that would justify me giving them that amount of money?
Okay, so in this situation, the person has an inability to perform at the same level as the average person for some reason.
Well, I think average is a relative term. If somebody is capable of doing heavy lifting
Okay.
and the job that they're doing requires heavy lifting, if a person who is doing the same the same number of tasks, but they don't require the same level of strength, then I think that the tasks that you're doing and the number of tasks that you're doing would be justification for what you are, you know, eligible to receive in compensation. Like, there are, obviously, me being in a wheelchair, there are plenty of things that I'm incapable of doing. I'm not going to sit there and say, I want to be paid the same amount as somebody who is able to be up on their feet and lift, say, half their weight when I can't do that. But I'm willing to I'm willing to do a job that I'm fully capable of doing and be paid the amount of money that is necessary, that is acceptable within my job requirements when it comes to tasks. I don't think that I need to be paid, say, $16 an hour if my only abilities within that job field are to be behind a computer or to deliver mail to people. I don't think it's right for me if somebody's out like on a factory room floor dealing with, a different environment than me. I don't think that it's necessary for me to be paid equal to them because I'm doing different things than they are.
Okay, I'm getting what you're saying, but I'm trying to like understand your concept. Like I feel like there's something behind your words that you're trying to say, but you're trying to use a lot more words to say it. Like I'm not I'm I'm because what I'm hearing is okay. To me, what I'm hearing is like a doctor does a job and gets paid doctor money, and I'm doing a janitor job, but I want doctor money. Why should I have doctor money?
Right. Why? And that's actually, a perfect example. Why would a janitor expect to be paid the same amount of money as a doctor when a janitor essentially, for the sake of this argument, mops up floors, whereas a doctor literally will have, somebody's life in their hands?
Okay, and my thoughts on that are it's not a question of the janitor getting paid doctor money. It's a question of the janitor getting paid the right amount of money for the job he's doing. And then you have to decide what's that right amount. It's not like I want to get paid this much because this other guy gets paid this much for doing something much harder. It's what I do is worth more than what I'm getting paid.
Okay, and I definitely I get what you're saying, but when it comes to circling back to what started this conversation about the whole outrage culture, there are people that that there are people in the food service industry at McDonald's
Hmm.
that want to get paid $15 an hour
Okay.
to push buttons on a cash register or to flip a burger,
But see,
where
this,
whereas there are people like, say, Department of Public Works workers outside repairing a road that actually deserve that amount of money because of the labor, it's labor intensive, whereas people inside McDonald working inside McDonald's, it's not really labor intensive.
now, with the economy the way it is, inflation the way it's gone, the value of money where it's at, I would look at it like if the lowest paid person thinks they need more, and a lot of them think this way, is that a sign that everybody needs more? Because if everyone, it's like money's worth less than it used to be, and no one's gotten more than they used to get. We're essentially getting less than we used to get.
I, I, I agree with that because I've actually never thought of it in that respect, but um, it makes me.
Well, like what I'm trying to say is like the outrage I see is why do you want $15 an hour? Like $15 an hour is this, oh my God, lots of money. And to some people, $15 an hour is not a lot of money. It's barely enough to get by. So it's just a mindset to like some people are thinking like this is a lot, and other people are thinking like no, this is just ends meet. It's more a question of the value of money, like how much is money actually worth, and how do we give them the same amount in worth that they used to get.
I get what you're saying. I'm trying to. kind of process it in my head in respect. Whoa, I'm still getting used to these pop-ups on my computer. It's just when, and I mean, it hasn't happened across the board yet, but when people that work in McDonald's started asking for $15 an hour, the company said, okay, instead of having to pay you $15 an hour, uh, you know, we will just let a computer do your job. And there are some McDonald's now that have computers tasked with taking orders and doing things of that nature. And I think they're going to start integrating computers that will prepare your meals. And so these people that were asking for $15 an hour to push buttons on a cash register and to flip burgers, they're now out of a job because the company found a more cost-effective way to perform those duties. So is it really worth it to have or is it really worth it to create that outrage in a job field like that when people can sit there and say, oh, I deserve this amount of money because of, A, B, and C, but the company will say, okay, but there are more cost-effective ways for us to do it. I'm sorry, you're out of a job now.
Well, I don't think them asking for more money is what's causing automation. And I think that's just a natural progress. And companies are going to always try to find the cheapest route to do a job. And I think even if they accepted minimum wage for eternity, and that minimum wage was like a small amount, you would still have companies wanting to automate and getting rid of human error, getting rid of having to hire people, making the cost less for them in the long run. Like it's not a matter of my workforce wants more money, so I'm going to go with this cheap route. It's always I'm going to go with this cheap route.
Yeah, because I mean, the way that, managers and owners of companies work is if they find a more cost-effective way where they don't have to pay humans as much, they'll take that cost-effective way. And if that's implementing automation, then we're going to see a lot of job fields go more the direction of automation than needing humans to complete those tasks. So I guess my question is it really worth asking for a higher minimum wage when you would essentially have to bump up the pay rate of people making $15 an hour who've been in that job field for X amount of years, because now they would just be making minimum wage again. So I mean, is it really an effective way to raise the minimum wage? Is it really an effective way to run a business? Because once you raise minimum wage, everything else has to go up to cover cost.
When you say everything else, like, are you talking for that company?
Well, for any company that raises their minimum wage, like for instance, I know Jeff Bezos is thinking of um, implementing $15 an hour for his entire company for Amazon, but there within that structure, if he gives all of his employees across the board $15 an hour, he's going to have to increase, you know, he's going to have to increase the price of his output to compensate for the money that he has to bring in to pay his employees.
Not necessarily. I think it's okay if you look at money as a limited resource in this, say it's a graph, a circle,
Okay.
like a pie chart, right? And you have the entire circle is all the money that comes into the company. This little slice is what you pay your employees. This other slice is the cost of business, and the last slice is like what you make in profit, what your company makes, and that's a profit. You can widen or shorten any of those pies, but the circle doesn't get any bigger because there's money's is what's limiting it. So if you widen the pay to your employees pie slice, one of the other two has to get smaller or they have to even out. Who's to say that it has to go to the cost of products or the cost of um, what your cost of doing business? Like what you're saying is you have to increase the amount of money coming in to account for that slice getting bigger. What I'm saying is you just shift money around, and I mean, companies aren't going to want to do this because nobody wants to make less money than they used to.
Right.
But at what point do you say you're making so much money you can afford to do this?
I mean,
When does greed become more important than paying your employees a fair amount?
I completely agree with that statement, but we have to look at the fact that money, I mean, it's very true what they say, money is the root of all evil. And unfortunately, money makes the world go around. And I know that's, a cliche, but greed has been around for centuries.
Okay,
And
well,
it's just
let me bring up this point real quick. Let me bring up this real quick. Okay, so say he's worth multiple billions, right?
uh
And that's in profit. A billion is enough where he could spend $1 million every year for 1,000 years. And to say that someone can't take one of like reduce that number by a small margin to pay a small workforce, or I mean small in global terms, like in the amount of people in the world, to pay these people a little bit more, and that's just, to me, that's ludicrous. It's just, I get you want to keep as much money as you can to yourself because you want this money, but you also have to pay people a fair amount to do the job they're doing.
but and I guess that leads into is the fact that I think across the board, whether it's the US or any other developed nation, I would kind of argue that every one of them is a capitalistic society or economy. And anybody who goes into business, a for profit business, essentially has that goal of capitalizing on whatever good or service they provide. So they don't want to move money around and, essentially, you know, put a dent in what they're able to take home to compensate for the lower totem pole people to be able to get more.
Yeah, and I
That's
understand people want money, and and you want to keep your money and you want to make more of it, but it's like, does that mean that these workers are not entitled to a certain amount of money for doing a job?
and I think that everybody is entitled to a living wage.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's what you have to figure out. Like, what is the living wage?
but unfortunately, I think unfortunately the government determines the living wage, um, because of inflation and deflation and all that. But I just I think that if you want if you want to go into a field where you're going to make a certain amount of money, what I the thing that I have a problem with is people go into certain fields because it will make them money. They don't go into the field that will be mentally and emotionally fulfilling. And I think that is human error because they're going into these fields where, yes, they're making, you know, money hand over fist, but they're also going into work each day bitching and moaning that they don't like their job, but they like the paycheck that they're bringing home. So I don't understand why people aren't just more willing to go into a field of work that interests them and live within their means instead of going into a field that may offer more money, but they're going to be miserable in their job because it's not something they're interested in.
I think that's just a personal choice. Like if you're willing to put up with a certain thing for the money, then that's what you're willing to put up with.
But I mean, are they willing to put up with it? Are they truly willing to put up with it if they're going into work bitching and complaining all the time? A good example, and I'm going to, because this is a live stream, I'm going to keep it as vague as possible. I know an individual who went to pharmacy school to become a pharmacist, and it was purely because they liked the paycheck, and they absolutely 100% hated the job. Like, they would go into work and just piss and moan the entire time that they were there. And they were in charge of other employees. So essentially, they were making a work environment for other employees very uncomfortable because they themselves hated their job, but they were in it for the money.
Well, does the money make them happy?
No, because they're still piss miserable.
Well, no, it's like they could be mad or miserable while at their job, but on their free time, are they happy and enjoying life?
No, they have the social skills of a wet mop.
I mean, it just comes down to like if they're handling it and that's their life and that's what they accept. I mean, who's to change
I guess.
what they accept?
Well, I think one of the things I had talked to you about is something I wanted to start on my YouTube channel, kind of as a series of videos exploring the human condition. And what I don't understand and what I want to understand is people's desire to want to obtain more money, but they're not willing to work their way up the ladder in a field where they enjoy what they're doing. They would just rather go into a field that's guaranteed to give them money because, like, one of my very dear friends, she is a costume maker and prop maker, and she enjoys doing that. Now she just scored a job with a fiberglass company that gets some of the largest contracts on the planet with some of the largest um, entities, um, and they're working on things for movie studios, for theme parks, and she's loving it. Like she absolutely loves everything she does. And she, I mean, the level of skill that she has far surpasses that of any employee that was already previously working there, but she has never once complained about the level of pay that she's getting because she loves that job so much.
Okay, so is the question there, why don't people follow that same route, or why does she not complain about making more money?
Why are, I guess, in your opinion, why aren't people more driven to be more mentally and emotionally fulfilled than they are, you know, monetarily? Because, money can go away. And as we see in our day to day lives having to pay bills, it goes away pretty damn quick. But I don't understand why people aren't more willing to go into something that's mentally and emotionally fulfilling and work their way up the ranks instead of going into a job field that they know nothing about, but they're going into it because of the paycheck.
Okay, well, this friend that you had, the end goal wasn't guaranteed. They didn't know this would happen. This was just lucky happenstance. It wasn't like you go to schooling for this and you have a job in mind and then you're working towards it, right? Or was this knowing like I have this goal,
My,
this is
my,
the job I
my
want, this is how
friend
much it pays?
My friend, who is the prop maker and costumer,
Mhm.
who has the job that she loves, she's actually self-taught. She never went to school for any of the creative things that she does. She never went to school for it. She's completely
Okay.
self-taught. But she had the level of skill that she has far surpasses anybody that works um, in that company.
Okay. Okay, so I think your question kind of doesn't involve her because her thing was it was luck. It was she has the skill, she was in the right place at the right time, she found the job of her dreams, and that happens sometimes, sometimes it doesn't. But I think your question is more, why will people go this route for a job that pays a certain amount instead of this other route which they enjoy, which may or may not pay a certain amount?
Why are they not willing to work their way up to a certain amount? They'll
Well, I
just
think if, like, say, I really like painting and I know that painting will make me $1 million a year, so I go to school for painting and I'm pretty much looking to go into the field and make this amount of money and it's almost guaranteed,
Mhm.
then I would do that. But I think what it comes down to, why people choose the route that they dislike but they're guaranteed the money versus a route that they enjoy, is the fact that it's not guaranteed the money. It's kind of like you have two paths to go down. One is full of marshmallows, pillows, and kittens, and you have to crawl through it. And at the end is a box filled with I don't know how much cash, versus the other path that's full of shit and spikes and broken glass, but there's a pile of cash at the end that I can see. Which route are you going to pick?
It, that's hard for me because I would rather work my way up the ladder, and learn as I go. And I think that
But see,
people,
I think that's not the question. Is working your way up the ladder. It's they go the route that they think they're guaranteed the money that they want at the end. So if
okay,
they knew working up the ladder would get them a certain amount of money, then they'd be more willing to do it.
Okay, but I think that your statement just helped me clear or better phrase my question. Why go into a field just for the money instead of going into something that you're going to get something out of that's more than monetary?
I'd say because happiness doesn't buy you cheeseburgers.
Yeah, but cheeseburgers clog your arteries.
It's just you feel like if you have money, you have stability. You don't have to worry. It gets you more things. You feel more powerful. While if you just do what makes you happy, you're not guaranteed security. You're not guaranteed these other things, and some people aren't okay with that.
But I gotta fix my camera. I don't know. Um, and okay, but I guess that raises another question. What in society has us of the frame of mind that we should go more toward what's going to fulfill us monetarily rather than mentally and emotionally? What in society has driven humans to try and achieve money over, you know, mental and emotional satisfaction?
I think because money controls everything, and money is status. And say you eliminated money and you eliminated the need for money, like anything you wanted, you could have at any moment. Everybody would have everything. Everyone would be equal. And then who could you look over because you're all on the same level?
Yeah, and that's essentially socialism. Um,
So, I mean, some people want the money because they want to feel safe. Some people want the money because they don't want to be on a lower rung. I mean, everybody wants it for a different reason. I think the reason we want it is because it exists.
well, looking at it from the perspective of, I mean, I know that you have what they call a side hustle where, you edit videos and commercials for people. So YouTube is not your end all be all, but why, what do you think is the difference between somebody who goes into YouTube as opposed to somebody that goes into like mainstream TV? Because obviously, I mean, you ask any YouTuber, they've had to bust their backside to get to whatever level they're currently at, but they have a goal in mind. And does it boil down to these people? The only goal that some people have is money.
No, I just think it's a medium. YouTube is just it's like say if I were an actor, I would. I mean, I could possibly have a YouTube page as well as going out and trying to act in films and TV. It's just an outlet. I just think YouTube, as an example, is just a medium for people to create, and it's an easily accessible one. There's no pay barrier. You don't pay YouTube to create a channel. You just sign up.
Right. And
So,
then, through other friends, you find out that you actually have the ability to live stream.
yeah, I think, I mean, YouTube, I mean, it's like anything, it's just a medium. And if that is an outlet that's accessible to you to create on, you do it. Um, if you go the television route or the film route, it's because that's where you want to be. It's not so much like that's the only thing available to you because there's many avenues available.
You know how they say, and I think it was more said to, your generation and mine than it is, in modern day. or we were, kind of raised on patience is a virtue, kind of being patient, good things come to those who wait, basically.
Yes, yeah.
Why is that not more of the mindset of people today? Like, why do they want, is it because the internet provides things right at your fingertips? Do you think that's the reason why people are less inclined to be patient people nowadays?
In the sense, in like a business sense.
In an overall sense, because I think that, instant gratification in any realm is, for me, it seems kind of toxic because it doesn't teach you how to work towards a goal. It just teaches you that, you can be given the accolades of that goal instantaneously without working toward it. So it makes me wonder if having everything literally at your fingertips eliminates the need for people to learn how to be patient and work toward what they have, or what they want rather.
I think in yeah, in modern times, things happen quickly. If they don't happen any quicker than they used to in your average life. It's just you hear about them faster. You know more than you used to. You have access to more. You have more understanding of what's going on other than what's in your small bubble, because it's broader than it used to be. So it's more encompassing. There's more in it than there used to be.
Well, I remember growing up when, I would see something on TV and it would have an 800 number that you had to call.
Oh, you
And
called one of those, huh?
no, not those were 900 numbers, not 800 numbers.
What?
No, but like, you'd see, um, like, oh, what was that? The very first mail order language program, was it called Muzzy?
I don't remember.
Um, to use them as an example, like if you wanted to learn a specific language, you would call this 800 number and they would mail you through the US Postal Service. They would mail you um, the program needed to learn, say, French or Russian if your first language was English. And now it's like you have Rosetta Stone, where yes, you have to pay for it, but it's instantaneously you're capable of downloading it and using it. So you don't have to. There's no anticipation. Like there's no wait period in anticipation waiting for this to get there. So you're automatically, given this. Obviously, as long as you pay for it, but you're automatically sent this link to download this program instead of being patient and waiting for it. And I think that that leads into instant gratification. And I just think that overall, instant gratification is kind of toxic.
But I don't see olden days being any better than now, because in your example before with the mail order thing, if my neighbor had already mailed ordered that and had it and was willing to sell it to me, I'd buy it from them and not mail order it.
True, but you can't always count on.
No, but I'm saying the choice between waiting a long ass time to get it versus having it immediately didn't change because it's modern times versus olden times. It's it's more easy to do now.
Yeah, they've kind of it's more along the lines of ease of access.
Yeah, it's like I don't think anybody wants is they're not like I have the choice between next day air and 7 day air and it's the same price. I think I'll wait a week.
Well, just to kind of give an example that might be relevant, there's a guy who is very widely known in many social media development circles because he's kind of considered one of like the social media gurus. Um, his name's Sean Cannell, and he and a friend of his just wrote a book that they released a couple of weeks ago to teach people how to more effectively um, build and promote their YouTube channel. And I like there when they first released it, I could have, signed up for a chance to get a free book, but I'm not, I mean, for me, I know that typically never works for me because luck is never really on my side when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I waited until I had the money and I actually purchased the book. Um, but for the people that signed up to try their hand at getting that free book sent to them before it was even released, it makes me wonder, did they get all butthurt and pissed off that, if they didn't win? Because I think there was only one or two winners. And are those the type of people that would say, okay, I didn't win this, but I have the patience to order it and wait for it to get here?
So I don't see those being related because that's a contest and you're not guaranteed a product at a certain time. It's just you have a shot at getting something.
Right, but I mean, it goes along with what you were saying as far as, would you rather order something off TV or utilize utilize that which your neighbor has when you don't know? I mean, in that example, you don't know the condition of the product that your neighbor has because you don't know how
Well,
much they've
let's
used.
say that it's he bought it, it's new, never opened, and it's as if uh, I would have bought it directly. I
Okay.
would pick it from him. I mean, taking out the element of buying something used or new, just saying it's next door or I have to order it. Pretty much everyone's going to say I'll buy it from next door or I'll go to the brick and mortar store and pick it up if the convenience level is the same.
Okay, here's actually something good that just popped up in my head because of something you said. There are more brick and mortar stores that are going out of existence because of the existence of online, or like online entities. Do you think that once brick and mortar becomes something that doesn't exist anymore, do you think that that will force people to develop patience, or do you think that it will increase the outrage culture that, you know they don't have the ease of access to it as well as they did before?
Well, firstly, I don't think brick and mortar is going away. I think it's changing. I mean, if you look at Amazon's brick and mortar store where you walk in and you don't interact with any people or any registers, that's a brick and mortar store. It's just changing how we view the brick and mortar. It's not. It's the internet is a way to do something, and physically is a different way to do something. It's just the manner and how we interacted with the physical world needs to change because we have the ability to do the same thing in a more convenient way.
The only, as far as brick and mortar, as it ties into Amazon, as far as that goes, the only thing I know of that Amazon is trying to do regarding brick and mortar is I think they're trying to do a collaboration with Whole Foods
Well, no,
where
they have their Amazon Go stores where it's like a grocery or neighborhood market, but there's no cash registers, there's no employees there. You just walk in, the cameras and your identification is scanned because I guess you have the app or something. You walk in, it knows you're coming in, it knows what you're picking up, and it knows what you left with, and you automatically get charged.
I heard something about that, but it was tied in with us the element.
There's only test stores right now. It's not like a an actual
Well,
thing,
I,
but
I I think we're talking about the same thing because when I heard that story, it was tied in with um, the element of the story had said that Amazon was trying to do a collaboration with Whole Foods. So I think we're talking about the same thing, but I actually didn't know a lot about the Amazon Go stores as being brick and mortar because I had never heard Amazon Go. If that's what they're calling them, that's cool. I didn't know that there was a. I'm trying to figure out if it's a different thing than their intended plan to collaborate with Whole Foods, or if it's the same thing. I don't know if it's the same or different.
that's just the concept of a brick and mortar store is changing is all. I don't think that they're going to die or go away or there'll be no more physical locations you can go to get items. I just think the concept of what they are and what they provide is changing, and we're in a transition time period, and we're just going to have to like see how it plays out. Like figure out where it goes, but it's not going to go away.
Do you think that as we progress in, you know, business meshing with technology, do you think that there's going to come a time where it's going to be necessary to develop a stronger level of patience, or do you think that we're going more the route of instant gratification?
I think everything will always try to get faster. I don't think you're going to try and purposefully make things slower.
But is it healthy for humans not to have a level of patience?
I mean, how does receiving goods quicker reduce your amount of patience? It just gives you more time to be patient on some other thing. It's just shifting time around.
I mean, I guess that's one argument. I'm wondering. I don't know. I guess just instant gratification has always, at least in my mind, has always been something that's going to make patience as a necessity not be a thing. And I think that we as human beings need to have some level of patience because it also, I think there are things that we need to be patient about that if we don't have to be patient about other things, we're going to eventually say, well, if I don't have to be patient about this, why should I have to be patient about this? I think that I think one is going to bleed into the other.
I don't think it's a matter of patience. I think it's how, let's say, how you handle situations. Like, say, just using my world as an example, I boot up my laptop now and it's on almost instantaneously. Or I pull out my laptop from 10 years ago and it takes a long time to boot up. I'm still going to want my laptop that boots up instantaneously. I'm not going to pick the older one, but I'm not going to let that anger me that it's not instant. Like if I have to use that one, it'll frustrate me because I know I have this faster one over here. I'll be like, ah, this slow pooping machine. But it's how you deal with that situation. I think
And
it's
then
more you're asking more like why do people get butthurt or whiny when things aren't given to them immediately?
right, and I think along the lines of either being a YouTuber or in your case being somebody who edits videos and commercials and such for clients, you have the because of the meticulous um, what's the word I'm looking for? Because of the attention that you have to give to editing a video project, I think that is good because it teaches you patience. Whereas I think if it were a quicker process, you are potentially compromising quality. Whereas if you did it yourself and it was a slower process, you're more apt to, appreciate the fact that at least it's going to be something you can be proud of instead of I want this done in 5 minutes when it's a 2 hour uh, when it's a 2 hour project that you're editing. I think that's why films are still, they take time to be edited, cut, and all that, and it takes time for them to go from big screen to say DVD. So you have to be patient for them to come out. But will more things that don't require you to be patient, are you going to be compromising quality of product just because you don't want to have to be patient?
No, I don't think so. I think because I'm always looking for keyboard shortcuts or hotkeys or something to make the workflow faster. Um, as long as you don't compromise on the quality, making something faster is better. Like, say my machine has only 8 cores instead of 16 cores, it'll process a 4K video at a certain amount. Whenever if I had the more cores, it would process it quicker. It's not a matter of patience, it's just a matter of being able to do things to the same fidelity in a faster time frame.
It's just, I don't know, I guess I'm so old school that I feel like doing things quicker
Well,
make
okay,
makes me
say,
always think that it's going to, you know, you're going to end up with a worse quality product in the end.
I mean, speed on its own doesn't affect quality.
Oh,
I mean, when we rode around on horses, and then motorized vehicles were invented, it didn't change the quality of getting from one place to another. It just got us there faster.
yeah. Um, but are there things that don't necessarily need to be sped up because like I understand like with the mail system there are reasons that made it necessary for receiving letters at a expedited rate because of it being time sensitive. But are there things that should be kept at a slow pace for the sake of quality?
I think on things that where time affects quality intrinsically, like say um, certain foods like cheeses or something where aging affects the flavor. You can artificially induce some of these reactions that happen in the food chemically, but the flavor isn't the same. So technically the end result is the same, but the quality is different. I would say in those circumstances, taking the time to do it where the end result is what you want is a good thing. But where time does not affect the end result, the faster is the better.
I guess I'm trying to find examples in my head of things that are time sensitive and things that allow you to take more time to develop them.
Well, like
I,
I'd say growing, say growing cattle or livestock, pumping them up with artificial fatteners and things like that speeds up the time to get the product, the time to the size of the product, right? But the quality is different than something you let age naturally or grow more naturally. So it's just the end result that's what you're looking at. So say you could do something in a day that would take a year normally, but there's no difference in the outcome. Why choose the longer time?
for me personally, and I think what I think at the end of the day, it all boils down to personal preference. For me, I would rather go the slow route and potentially learn something new along the way than to get something done quicker just for the sake of moving on to something else.
Okay, well then, okay, let me give you this option.
Okay.
You have, say you have, just imaginary, say you have like a 10-mile long hallway,
Okay.
no windows, no scenery, no nothing, just plain white, no people, just you. You have to get
Okay.
from one end to the other. There's a path where you wheel yourself down, and then there's a path that gets you there quicker, like the people mover does. Your experience will not change no matter which path you take, and you get to the end the same end point. Would you rather take the long route to get there or the quicker route to get there?
Well, it depends because would me would me manually pushing my chair, is that slower or faster
No, just
than
say it's slower. Say this people mover is fast enough to where it's faster than traveling manually.
okay. Um I don't know because I feel like if I'm on, and this is like I said, this is purely just a personal preference. If I'm on something like an automated sidewalk, which I believe is what that's called, if I'm on an automated sidewalk, it's not something that I can control. And I know that there's the chance that being that I can't control it, there's the very real chance that it could break down.
Okay,
So
say that it's an infallible machine and it is utterly safe and nothing can go wrong. The only difference between you going there manually and you going there faster is you get there faster. No difference whatsoever. Same thoughts go through your head, same everything. The experience is identical, except one is longer than the other.
I guess I guess what I was were I guess what is at the end of the journey would determine whether or not
Yeah,
I
but see,
would,
but that
if I
that's
would
not part of the equation. The equation is just which route would you get it would take to get there.
it depends on, for me, like I said, this is just a personal preference. It would depend on what I was working toward.
You're working toward getting to the end.
Just basically chicken getting to the other side of the road,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, I would take the route of me pushing my chair manually just because I would get more out of it
But what?
than
No, but I'm saying you would not get more out of it in this situation. Your experience is the same no matter what. Only one is faster. Removing all variables, the only difference is speed.
but okay, but the one variable that you're not considering is I have if I'm using my chair
This
and
this is
not
an
the
imaginary
automated.
scenario, so it's not a thought experiment. It's not like I'm thinking reality. I'm thinking in a situation where everything's the same. All variables are identical other than speed.
I don't know. I would still go with pushing my chair manually.
Okay, and why would you choose that if everything is the same?
Because it's something I'm more familiar with. I think it's a familiarity with me. I told you when we met, I'm an odd duck.
No, I'm just saying, okay, I think you're still trying to view this question in the realm of reality
Yeah,
when
I'm trying to psychoanalyze it because there are variables that I have grown up with because I've seen these automated sidewalks
well, but
and
that's just an example. It's a term to get you to think of the concept. It's not an actual real physical automated sidewalk that you're going to be taking. It's just an idea. So it's just
and
the
I mean
idea of
I guess
something getting you to somewhere faster versus something getting you to somewhere slower when all other variables are the same. Why choose the slower route if it doesn't net you any benefit?
why choose the faster route if it doesn't net you any benefit?
It nets you faster. That's the benefit.
But what benefit are you other than speed? What benefit are you getting by getting there faster? Like what? Like
No,
is there?
that's the whole idea. It's speed. It's like you get there faster.
For me, I don't care unless there's something at the end for me to care about. Then I'm not going to care about getting there slower or faster.
Okay.
I guess I think at least the way that I'm interpreting it, it's the whole risk versus reward. Like I think there's more of a risk being on the automated sidewalk, but it would depend on the
Well,
reward.
let's remove the term automated sidewalk then. Let's just say it's a faster route.
I don't know. There would have to be something enticing at the end of the journey for me to want to take the faster route.
Life,
Life.
more time to do other things that you want to do other than being on that journey.
um, I guess if I were to choose the faster route, it would be out of pure curiosity.
Well, let's use an example then of, I guess, what would fit into the realm of everyday life is you have this route you have to take, the long one or the fast one or the slow one. At the end of the route, the goal is everything else you can do in your day. More time to do other things other than be on this journey.
I get, well, yeah, like I said, for me, it's just personally that I think it would be out of pure curiosity that I would probably take the faster route just to see what I would gain from it, and just kind of one of those things, just take it so I can say that I've taken it. Um, Whereas if the question were, would I take it again? I would be able to say, yes or no.
Okay.
I'm like, I analyze things so differently. Like I kind of like I
I
don't
just
look,
think you're taking my question too literal and not the concept.
and you're probably absolutely right, but there's just a certain way that my brain processes things, and it doesn't look at just the top layer of something. It kind of considers the entire makeup of, you know, what is presented to me, and that's literally just the way my brain works. Like I'm legitimately not trying to make it difficult for you to um present
Oh,
your.
no, no, no. I mean, I have friends that think that way also, that I have to try and choose my words to get them to understand my concept. Like, I think I try to present an abstract, untied to reality, just a base concept question, and then they try to tie it to some real world situation.
Yeah, and I think that is where my I think that's the default of my brain, where I try to relate everything to what would I do in real life, because when you started this example, I legitimately thought you were going to use the like the difference between me pushing my chair or not being given my chair and I had to crawl to the destination. That's where I thought you were going, and then instantly I would have picked the chair because I.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, I mean, I didn't want to represent the like a struggle versus a non-struggle. I just wanted to represent
well,
time.
I think at its core, I think the example you're giving is struggle versus non-struggle,
Well,
because
that's why I want to try to eliminate any of the words that were bringing that across. I just want to represent time, something that takes more time versus something that takes less time for the
yeah,
same result.
I think any way you pitch it, the the activity that you're presenting is struggle versus non-struggle, and I think that is what life is made up of. Is, are you willing to struggle, or do you just kind of want instant gratification?
But I'm coming across with the idea that some things, instant gratification allows you to struggle in other areas that it's more valuable.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that, where the struggle will teach you more. Um, but for me, I guess because of the way that I've lived my life up to this point, I've always taken the route of what's going to what's going to teach me more.
Okay, well then, what does the struggle of taking more time teach you?
In regard to your example of getting from one place to the other without something waiting at the end, I think just, again, being patient and trying to get from point A to point B.
Okay, then
That's
say you take the faster route and you get to the end And while the you that's taking the slower route is learning this life lesson, the you that's already at the end also contemplates about these ideas without having to travel.
But I think you're going into the realm of two people having the same.
What I'm saying is I'm separating the lesson learned from the struggle itself. If you can separate the two, and so you still learn the lesson, but go the faster route. Why do they need to be tied together? Why they're not inherently combined. They're two separate things.
I don't know. Like I've just always gone the route that's going to allow me to explore more of what I'm capable of.
But that doesn't necessarily need to be the slower route.
No, you're right. But I mean, I guess I just go. It's always a gut feeling with me. I'll or depending on my gut feeling, I'll go with whatever I think is going to be more fulfilling to me.
Okay, and I'm saying why automatically limit yourself to thinking I want to go the way that's more fulfilling and that has to be the slower way instead of
I'm not saying it always has to be the slower way, but I think just as a creature of habit, I've, you know, based on my experience, the slower route always has taught me more than getting there on a bullet train as opposed to taking a cab. I've always kind of enjoyed the journey more than the destination. I think the journey is more fulfilling than the destination.
well, and I could say I could flip it around to be your view of instant gratification is identical to how you're viewing the more fulfilling to you slower way.
But if I'm
You are so ingrained in the way that you want it and the way you're thinking. The other way is bad.
but the way that I would choose to go, if I were to choose the slower means of getting from point A to point B,
Mhm.
it's still not instant. It's just the way that I choose to approach the situation.
Yes, and that the people that want it instantly, that's the way they choose to approach the situation. So what makes one correct and one incorrect?
I guess it would have to depend on the situation they're in.
Yeah, if and what I'm saying is, if both of you come out of it learning the same lesson, what difference is there between the two? So why I would choose faster just so I have more time to do other things, but there's no invalid answer to the question because the end result's the same.
Okay, but okay, if we're talking about people having the same experience or having the same experience, take two people going skydiving.
Mhm.
Two people experiencing the same activity are never going to experience it the same way. I can experience skydiving and absolutely have a blast and want to do it hundreds of more times. But the person next to me could be jumping at the same
Well,
time I'm jumping and be absolutely terrified the entire way
I don't
down
think,
and don't
but
want to do it
that's
again.
still trying to rationalize something and that's it's okay. Say it took me 10 years to learn a life lesson
Okay.
and it took you a year to learn the same life lesson.
I honestly would ask you what you learned along the way
The
because,
exact same thing that you learned. We came out at the end the same.
but I really, I can't subscribe to the concept that people experience or people take away.
But in this situation, it happened.
Pardon?
In this situation, in the one in the million time, it happened.
I don't know. I still think that taking your time is more fulfilling. That's just me. I guess, like I said, I'm a creature of habit.
Okay, and I mean, and that's not an invalid answer. It's just you chose to go that longer route. I chose to go the shorter route. We both ended up being the same.
Yeah, I mean, I've just always been of the mindset that two people can have the same experience but get two completely different.
But why are you locking your mind into this? These two people can't be identical at the end.
Because it goes back to what you were saying or what I said before with familiarity. It's just a concept that I've been familiar with my entire life, so it's kind of a default.
But I mean,
Like,
when presented with the idea, why are you so adamant in fighting it?
because it's hard to break habit. Especially at 33, it's hard to break habit for me. I guess that's just a personality trait that I have. Like, I'm very open to approaching things different ways, but if I find a way that works for me, it's very hard to get me to break a habit.
I think that's the same with most people. People find their ways and their routes, and then if you confront them with contrary ideas, they're going to fight hard for what they know in their life instead of accepting ideas that are foreign to them.
Yeah, it just registered in my head again that we're doing a live stream on or on YouTube, and I still can't wrap my head around that.
Well, it's the
Like,
same. It's the same as doing this offline and then just uploading it after. I mean, the only difference
yeah.
would be is if somebody were in the chat and they said something, then you'd have comments you could bounce off of.
Now that I know that I can live stream, I think it'll help me grow my channel better when it comes to content because, like I told you, the reason that I wanted to video chat with you was to have a conversation because my entire channel, that was my goal with my channel, was to have a conversation about things. And I think that doing live streams will allow me to, uh, James Bennett said, comment, you're such a smart ass. And I think it'll allow me to have conversations and to have that back and forth like you and I are having. Because I'll admit, a couple of times during this back and forth, I'm like, this is about to take a bad turn, and he's going to get frustrated with me. But I, you weren't. I think you weren't looking for a specific answer. You were just trying to see where I was on the subject, and that's ultimately what I want to do with my channel, is to find where people are and see if there is common ground on a common subject. Because along the lines of what we were just talking about, two people having the same experience but getting something different out of it, I think that two people can have different feelings about the same subject matter, and that is entirely what I want to find out through conversation in doing YouTube.
Yeah, and I know I can come across as argumentative sometimes, or like I can sound like I'm fighting or getting frustrated, but but it's just it's more frustration in me trying to find the words that'll convey what I'm thinking in a manner that you would get the idea the same way that I'm getting it, so I could understand what you're thinking, instead of like me saying something you understanding it differently than I'm portraying it and giving me an answer based on that information instead of the information that I'm trying to give you.
Yeah, and I'm the same exact way where I don't know where somebody is in their head, so I'm less apt to be able to convey my thought to them in a way where they're going to instantly understand it.
Yeah. And I mean, and you can have any opinion you want, and I can disagree with it, and it's not gonna like make me like hate the fact that you're saying you have this idea. It's just I want to understand why you have that idea and let you know that I disagree with it.
I, most of the time, the answer is always going to be I have that idea because I'm a pain in the ass and it's really hard to get me to break habit. But it's just, and my friend Rob that you'll end up meeting next summer. Um, he and I have some of the greatest intelligent and intellectual conversations, but we are so different in how we interpret the same subjects that it often causes us to not speak to each other for at least a day. It's not that we're mad at each other. We're trying to figure out how to convey our personal experience based on that subject matter. We're trying to figure out how to convey our personal experience effectively to the other person so that there's a general understanding.
Yeah, and I think it's good to have ideas that are contrary to your own, just to open yourself up to other modes of thought and other ideas, and not surround yourself with just you already think this. Why reinforce it with the same thought when you don't need to? Why not?
Mhm.
Why not sit there and think of other ideas and have those other possibilities be accepted in your mind? And even if it doesn't change your mind, just I think that helps you more than someone agreeing with you.
Yeah.
It makes you think like, why do I think this way? Why do I think the thoughts that I think? And if I come out the end the exactly the same, I understand why.
And I think that's a lot of going back to our original reason for starting this conversation, the whole outrage culture. I think that is a lot of why there is so much more visible outrage is because people aren't taking the time to understand their neighbor, or they don't understand their neighbor and they just don't know how to change their way of thinking to be able to understand. It's a two-pronged thing. They either don't have the desire to understand or they don't have the ability, but hopefully if they don't have the ability, they have the willingness to discover that ability.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we're kind of led to believe that there's two ways. There's, you know, I'm right, you're wrong, in all situations. When I personally believe that you should view everything from every angle and then pick the one that you agree with.
Yeah.
And there can be multiple ways to get somewhere. It's just the path you choose is not correct or incorrect. It's just the path you choose.
Yeah, and I think a lot of I think that's the problem with a lot of mainstream news sources is they have a certain they cherry pick when it comes to a story. They'll cherry pick certain um, facts about the story that they want to kind of bring to the forefront to project a certain narrative, and the people that believe that narrative will ultimately support that news station. Whereas I don't watch mainstream news. I'll go to somebody like Philip DeFranco who will give me the story in its entirety. He'll give his view on it, but then he wants to know what his viewers are thinking and what his viewers took away from the story so that it creates a conversation. And that is ultimately why I spend more time on YouTube than I do watching TV.
Yeah, I think, especially in politics, it's presented as a our side versus their side. Um, our way's the right way, your way's the wrong way, and that's what I don't like about it. I believe it should be we think things are handled best in this manner, and then the other team thinks it's handled best in that manner. Who agrees with whichever side more? And the end goal is the betterment of the people. So both sides are trying to fight for the same goal. They just have different methods of doing it. But now you like demonize the other team, and it's like they're not not having you in their best interest. They're having themselves in their best interest. And I mean, that could be true for a lot of people on both sides. It doesn't matter who you are because money and stuff corrupts people. Um, but I think it's gotten to where the outlets and what's shown to people is only what you want your side to see to demonize the other side. And
It's tribalism at its best.
yeah, I
It,
mean, I
but
think it's gotten away from we all want to make things better, just which way do we pick to do it,
right,
to we're better and the other people aren't.
yeah. And I think that at the end of the day, I think there are elements of tribalism that are healthy for survival, but I think that like anything, I think that there is the other extreme of tribalism that can be very harmful to humans being able to progress as a species.
Yeah, and I think also a part of it is along with making you feel like the opposing side to whatever view you have is wrong. Uh, People are taught to think that your view is infallible. Like you can't be incorrect, you can't be wrong because it's your team. It's like people are people. I mean, everyone's a person, and everybody can be wrong. And it's you got to accept that you can be wrong, even if you think you're right.
Yeah, and
It's just
I
it's how
think
you come out
that
of it.
I think people are. I think even if they don't want to, I think right now people are learning that there are instances where they are wrong, and that they kind of have to deal with it in a sense. Um, and I think that they're learning it the hard way right now, where their way of thinking isn't always going to get them the result that they're looking for. They have to be malleable.
Yeah, and I think when shown that you're wrong, how you handle that is shows what kind of person you are. Like, do you accept it or do you fight against it? Do you graciously say like, oh, okay, let me correct this thing that was wrong, or let me learn what's right, or let me alter my view based on new information, or do I stick to my guns and not allow myself to be wrong?
while still, being wrong.
Yeah, it's like come on, just grow as a person. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It doesn't matter who it is. Everybody can be wrong.
And I think there are too many people out there right now who are not willing to allow others to help them grow as a person because they seem to think they have all the answers to what it means to grow as a person. But to go back to something that I've heard since I was a kid, it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village to help the rest of the villagers. I think that it takes a village to help the individuals in the village grow as people.
Yeah, I mean, and why shut out more information? Just figure out what's real, what's not real, and decide based on as much facts as you can.
Yeah. See, once we're able to be face to face and in the same room, we're gonna make some killer videos. Like I there are certain people who are so aggressive when they're trying to have conversations, and other than me getting frustrated trying to kind of match up where you were coming from, I think that this is the most relaxed I've been having a conversation, because there were no threatening undertones. Like there was nothing threatening about it.
Oh, but if you get into like who's better, Marvel or DC, then all gloves are off.
Right there, because um, yeah, that's a hard thing for me because I mean I'm not tribalistic when it comes to that because like I think that when it comes to the cinematic universe, I think Marvel is better. When it comes to the TV, like television universe, I think DC is better, because I think that there are certain characters I that I think are explored better cinematically because of how many dimensions there are to a character. Whereas when it comes to TV, I think episodically, I think it is necessary for certain characters to be in an entertainment medium that's episodic to really peel back the layers. Whereas you can make several Iron Man movies, and while Tony Stark is there are several layers to Tony Stark. I think they are easily understood cinematically. But if you look at, say, the Green Arrow, you have to put it into the TV realm because there's so many relationships that the Green Arrow has that it's not that you wouldn't be able to stop making movies to cover all of the layers of relationships that he has. So I think that they fit better into some medium of entertainment, but I think it depends on the individual character that you're talking about.
Yeah, I think characters are just characters. Marvel's handled the movie side of it better, like in their writing, for the most part, and the way they've done their films. DC. animation is outstanding. Like the storytelling in the DC animated movies is, I think, should have been their films. Um, I just think the feel for DC characters is different than the feel for Marvel characters in the realm of television. And
Mhm.
I don't think it's based on the company or the IP. I just think it's based on who's writing.
Yeah, you're right, because I am absolutely terrified to see. I mean, if it's even released, I'm absolutely terrified to see what comes of Guardians of the Galaxy now that James Gunn is not writing for that movie. Um, but I think, and I'm hoping it's not just a one-off thing. I think DC finally got a foothold on movies when they did Wonder Woman. I'm hoping that they can continue that trajectory in going strong with their movies, but it really concerns me because the Batman movies and the Batman movies, the Suicide Squad movie, and the non Christopher Reeve Superman movies, I think were very campy. Um, I think the only strong weapon that DC has in their movie arsenal is Wonder Woman. So I'm hoping that they can kind of build off of that. I think when it comes to the cinematic universe, that Marvel still has a strong enough hold on it that they're not going to be destroyed. Although I will say that I was thoroughly impressed with Wonder Woman, and I said to my mom that, Marvel needs to watch out if DC continues that trajectory.
Yeah, and I think because I mean I just like the entertainment. I mean I'm a fan of I buy comics every Wednesday, and I'm a fan of characters on both sides. I buy more Marvel than I do DC comics currently, but it used to be the other way around. It's just I think at the end it's did I have fun watching this movie? And more of the Marvel movies, that was a yes, than the DC movies. But that's not a fault of the character or the company. It's the screenplay and the writers and who made the film. I mean,
And it's
there's
funny that you mentioned that because when um, when Lionsgate and Saban released the 2017 reboot of the Power Rangers movie, um, when it came to the original Power Rangers movie released in the 90s, I enjoyed watching it, but it was just entertainment to me. But when they released the 2017 reboot, I got more, I was able to connect with that story because I think their character development was better. Um, but with the change in um, like the change in people that are now in control of the Power Rangers franchise being at Hasbro, um, I don't know if Hasbro has the same ability to continue with deep diving into characters like Lionsgate did with the 2017 movie.
and see this is what's good about live streaming and live chat is this is totally off the topic that you started with.
Yeah,
It's just going.
it like our conversation has evolved into different things,
Yeah.
but I think that, you know, if we were to really peel back the layers, it all has to do with what are we willing to discuss and what are we prone to have outrageous behavior toward?
Yeah, and I think it's good to have like a overarching concept to your stream at the time, um, like kind of like a subject for the whole thing. But I mean, as you do it more and learn more about it and grow and get more comfortable with it, especially if more people join and you can riff off of their comments and morph the conversation based on what they say also.
Yeah.
You have to be open to letting it flow, but having that general idea of what you want to talk about to like rein it in a little bit if we start going off topic.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't think that conversation itself should be restricted to being linear. Because I think conversation is like a tree. You can branch off and still be on the same tree.
Now, I do wonder whoever is going to watch this as a replay or a after the fact upload that are watching it not live. I'm
God
curious as to
there for two
why.
hours and watch this.
Yeah, I know. I'm wondering like why would somebody sit there and just watch two people talk to each other for an hour or two? I mean, other than the fact that I'm a puppet.
You are my puppet, bitch. I got to be careful because I don't know what can get my channel restricted now. Because I flipped you off and I've swore on this live stream. I don't know what's going to get my
I don't
channel.
think swearing is an issue. I just think it's like basic terms of service stuff like illegal usage of substances and probably more commercial rights things like if you had music in the background or if you had a television playing a show in the background or something, you couldn't play it.
Yeah.
But I think just swearing and flipping someone off, it's not offensive enough to net any kind of reaction.
Um, I think because you started the live stream, I think you had the ability to um, catalog it as a video. Because I don't.
No, it's you still have control of your YouTube channel. I just have the stream key. So when I press stop streaming, you have all the control over it. Like I can't do anything else with it.
Okay. That'll be interesting to see what pops up on my screen when we stop.
Yeah. But speaking of that, I do have to go pretty soon because I do have to get ready.
Yeah, I have to go kind of eat and kind of fill my face because I honestly didn't think that this was going to be as, detailed as it was. But it would, I mean, I'm glad that we figured things out and we're able to realize things that we didn't know before. So it helps me in the long run going forward because now I can, start putting on my Twitter that, hey, I'm gonna live stream for a little bit. I don't have any content to post, but I'm gonna live stream, come over and have a conversation about, whatever's on your mind. And I think that'll, like you said with your other person that you help, I think that'll ultimately get my subscriber count up and hopefully, work on getting my number of hours up.
And I think it fits the style of what you have been doing because it's basically the same. Like if no one shows up in your room to comment, you're still looking at the camera, talking to it like you would have before, like if you were editing it. The only difference is you don't have the ability to edit out any mistakes.
Yeah.
So you just have to live with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's better because you do have that live aspect. You do have the ability for someone to come in and say hi or start up a different kind of route to the conversation than you were going if you wanted to. You do have that connection with the people watching you if they come in to watch you, but you also can either ignore all of that if it's going on, or if it's not going on, just continue with the topic that you want to get information out about.
And I think structurally, with somebody like yourself, feeding, a response back to me, I think it helps me from veering off of topic or, creating long, drawn out things because I think it's helped me stay a lot more structured than if I were to make a video to upload.
Yeah, it's good to have somebody to riff off of and talk to and have a conversation with. But I do think that you should do these even if you don't have someone to chat with. If you do have an idea for a video that you want to talk, like a subject you want to talk about, but you don't have anybody to converse with, just go live and just start talking. And if people show up, they show up. If not, you still get the idea off your chest.
Yeah. I think if you're up for it, I think we should do these type of live streams, whether you're verbally talking to me or you're just, responding to me in the chat. I think it would be, something to do, um, pre- preferably at least to start, to verbally, banter back and forth. But I think it would help me grow as a creator and as somebody who is an orator to speak, to be able to do these maybe once a week, and we'll just pick a day and pick a subject, and we'll kind of just see where it leads.
Yeah, I can come on here, I guess, semi regularly for currently I don't have anything that would stop me from doing that. Um, I would I would have you do a few on your own just so you learn how they're done from your side, because right now I'm handling the streaming aspect of it and you're just
Right.
doing the video call. Um, I would think that you should do a few just yourself so that you can understand how it's working, or whatever programs you're going to be using to do it, so that you
Yeah.
can have more control over what's going on. Because right now, I have to shove your face in the corner to get this to fit without having these other boxes show up, because we're figuring this out last second.
Yeah.
um, but and then I may or may not have to be a puppet in future ones, or some other avatar. But yeah, I mean, just, and I would have that as part of your stream, just you learning the tools. And I mean, it's going to take a minute for people to join and follow and come with you on your journey. But as you put more out there, there's more for people to notice so that they can start following you.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
yeah, like I said, this has been quite the experience. So I will, I think it's good to end here, and you and I will just kind of wrap things up on Facebook chat.
okay, cool. And it was fun talking. And do you have any kind of like outro that you do, or any ending?
No, I'm kind of boring when it comes to that so far, but anybody who sees this, you know, thank you for getting to this point. I commend you for, listening for 2.5 hours. But yeah, hopefully the content has been captivating enough for you to want to join in next time when I go live, either by myself or with James. So I think we can end it there.
Okay, I'm gonna make a face.